welcome back to my channel. This is Elise's Mystical Bookshelf. I'm Elise, and today I'm going to be talking about All of the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I've read this book a couple times. I can't remember how many times I've read it, but it is definitely one of my top favorite books, and I feel like I always get something different out of it. And I'm just going to go over my thoughts about it with you guys, and maybe you can leave me a comment about what you thought of the book if you've read it, or if you've never read it, maybe you can add it to your to be read list. So Violet and Finch, they're the main characters, and they're very different from one another, which is something that I've noticed every time that I read it. And they have Violet, I think, is pretty quiet, but Finch seems more outgoing and more extroverted than Violet, I would say. But I feel like Finch is one of the more complex characters of the two, and he really goes through a lot of different phases in the book, which I found very interesting, and I loved reading it. I loved seeing his character develop, especially because Violet and Finch don't really like each other in the beginning, and they're kind of just thrown together with this school project that they have to do, which I thought was very relatable, especially when I first read it in high school, because sometimes you don't know who you want to be friends with, and it's just random, and you're just thrown together. And I really liked their relationship development. But I feel like what I like the most about Finch is that he's very honest. Maybe he's not so honest with himself, but I feel like he's honest with Violet and telling her that she needs to just take chances and just be herself and do things. He's very thrill-seeking, which is something that I thought was interesting about his character arc, because they go on this adventure together in Indiana, going to all these small little places that you wouldn't think would have much of an impact on anyone, but they come together and find out, they make memories together going to these different places. And I really like seeing them develop a relationship together and how they gradually grow to like one another. I just thought it was really cute, and I thought one of the more interesting themes in this book is how they talk about mental health, because I know Finch is very fascinated by the idea of death, which I thought was very interesting when I first read it. I had never really seen an author go through those themes so concisely in a character, and he's really focused on thrill-seeking, which I also thought was an interesting part of his character arc. So I just wanted to check my notes and go through my hard copy of All the Bright Places just to make sure I'm refreshed on the story. But I feel like with Finch and Violet's relationship, I think the most interesting part was in the very beginning when they met on the bell tower. I thought it was interesting imagery because, like I said, it seemed like he was obsessed or fascinated more, I guess is the word, in death. And I had never seen that type of character before, so it was kind of shocking for me to read the first time. But Violet was also on the bell tower with him, and I know she was in the accident, and it felt like she had her life pretty well put together before the accident. But after the accident, it seemed like she went into a spiral, and she didn't know how to get herself out. And I think that's the main reason why Finch and Violet work so well together, because Finch was already kind of in a spiral. He knew about his own mental health issues, and I don't know if he wanted to confront them by himself And I don't think Violet wanted to confront anything. She seemed like she was very anxious most of the time after the accident. And it really seemed like Finch helped pull her out of that. But it's sad because they're almost like foils of each other. Because as Violet was becoming more herself and more free and less worried about everything, that seemed like when Finch started to deteriorate more. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone if they haven't read it. So if you haven't read it, you can stop at this point because I'm going to talk about the ending of the book too and how I thought about it. But yeah, so spoilers for anyone who hadn't read it before. I just feel like the end of the book, it really broke my heart, honestly, because as Violet was coming into her own and really becoming her best self, that was when Finch started to deteriorate the most. And I feel like as soon as their characters started to really come together and you thought they were going to make it to the end, that was when Finch decided to end his life at the big blue pond that they went to visit together. And I really thought it was so sad. I mean, I understand why Jennifer Niven did that, because it is a very powerful message that no matter who is in your life or no matter what you're going through, it's hard. It's hard sometimes going through that. All your emotions, they can get the best of you. And I really do understand why she chose to have Finch take his life. It was really impactful for the book and the character arc. Because I think maybe Violet thought she could save Finch, but there's really nothing that anyone could do for someone who is that deep in depression or mental health. They have to want it. They have to want to pull themselves out. And I feel like Finch kind of toggled back and forth between wanting to stay alive and go through life. And I think that's why he chose thrill-seeking as his coping mechanism. I really think that was the most powerful thing about the book, is he wanted to do all these thrill-seeking things to feel alive, because he felt like he was unwanted or not good enough for anyone. But I mean, in the end, I think his own demons really got the best of him. And I think it's very relatable. But I think the biggest thing is just to know that you're not alone, or that nobody going through that is alone. And I think that's what Jennifer Niven was trying to accomplish with this book, is that he found a friend in Violet, but I don't think she wanted it to be like a savior complex relationship. I don't think she wanted Violet to have that burden of saving Finch from himself. I think she wanted to prove that this person going through these things has to want to save themselves. Nobody can save them, really. And I thought it was very powerful, and every time I read it, it honestly makes me cry. So if you're into books that make you cry, I think this is a good one, because it literally makes me cry every time. And it doesn't matter how many times I've read it. Honestly, I cry every single time. It's just that powerful, and I think I really like Jennifer Niven's writing and the way she portrays her characters. They feel very real. They feel like you're going through this with them. And I think the imagery in this book is very beautiful, and she really sheds light on how the little things in life can what makes someone the happiest. Because like I said, they go through all these different places that are so small in Indiana that really nobody knows about. And that was the whole point of the project, is to find places that you wouldn't think had an impact on people, but actually they do. And I thought that was really interesting. I also thought the themes of Violet going from wanting to fit in with her popular friends to not caring about fitting in, because that was what Finch was all about to begin with. He was okay with being different, and Violet was not okay with being different. Violet wanted to be the perfect daughter. She wanted to be the perfect friend, and I think going through the accident was good for her because it brought her to a place of finding herself and being more authentic than she was before the accident. Because I feel like Violet was very self-centered before the accident. She didn't really seem like she cared about much, besides like the little teenager things that most high schoolers are so concerned with. But after she meets Finch, I feel like she goes through this growing up, coming of age type of story. And she ends up making new friends besides Finch, which is really nice. And I know that she thinks maybe it's her fault for why Finch decided to take his life, but I know that's not the point of the story. And I don't think that's what Jennifer Niven wanted to come across with. I don't think it was Violet's job to save Finch. I think it was her job to just maybe show him some perspective in hopes that he could find himself and become a better person past his mental health issues. But it's okay that that didn't happen, and I think that Violet is okay with that. At the end of the story, it seems like towards the end she kind of has this attitude that even though we weren't able to go through life together the whole time, I think she's just grateful that she got to meet Finch in the end. And it seems like in the stages of grief towards the end of the book, she seems to have acceptance for what has happened. And I really like that. I liked the end of the book, even though it is very sad. And I understand why Jennifer Niven did it the way she did it. And I think it was really well done. I think it's great to bring light to these types of situations where you see friendships and you think that both of these people are in it together, and it's okay to not always be okay. And I think that was the point of the book, that it's okay to not be okay. And I think that Finch had the hardest time with that because he wasn't really honest with himself with his mental issues. He didn't really get the help that he needed. And I feel like the most important part of this book is to show that if you need help, you should ask for help. And I think that Finch sort of learned that towards the end, but he felt like it was too late for himself, which I don't think is true. I think it's never too late for anything or for anyone going through mental health issues, and that it's okay to open up and to talk about it with somebody. And I think with Violet especially, she learned to work through her mental health issues because of Finch, even though Finch couldn't really see that, which I thought was sad. But I did really enjoy this book, and I definitely give it 5 stars. And I would totally recommend it if you hadn't read it already. It's been out for a long time, so I can't imagine how many people haven't read it by now, but it is very good. I think it's very relevant still, especially with the mental health themes. And I would totally recommend it in all aspects. It's the perfect romantic comedy with a little bit of sadness mixed into it, with themes of finding yourself, and I think the mental health aspect especially is very important. And I think is the most important theme is just always being yourself and not caring about fitting in, which I thought was very helpful. And I feel like Jennifer Niven did a great job with this story, and I always enjoy reading Jennifer Niven. She's one of my favorite authors. So if you guys want to pick that book up, you totally should. And thanks for watching. Bye.